This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis.
Ready to go again for another weekend. Busy Saturday in the National Hockey League. We're into February now. It's getting real. It's getting good. It's getting fun. Oh, but it's not without controversy. Oh, yeah, we'll get into the whole goaltender interference thing and all the rest of it. Get you set for a busy Saturday in the National Hockey League and a busy Super Bowl weekend. Justin Tasch from the New York Daily News will join us. We will talk Rangers, who will be in action a little bit later on this evening. Oh, yes, New York Rangers in Nashville to take on the Preds. Dallas Stars also in action, hosting the Minnesota Wild. Wild coming off a nice home victory after the Vegas Golden Knights. We're in town on Friday. Scott Burnside, Stars Insider, will join us. Arthur Staple covering the New York Islanders. Yes, he will join us in hour number one as well. Scott Billeck covers the Winnipeg Jets for NHL.com. He will be with us to talk about the Jets, and we could not have timed this visit any better. Our friend Josh Smith of scoutingtherefs.com will be with us for another hashtag ref report. Yeah, because there's a whole bunch going on that we need to get into, talking about goaltender interference and the like. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles to join us. We look forward to your feedback via social media, including your Dog of the Day nominations, hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We like to honor great dogs every Saturday. Send us a photo via Twitter, via Instagram. Use the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Tell us your name and your dog's name. If there's a nice story that goes along with it, we enjoy that too. We look for a great dog to honor every Saturday. The Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis Dog of the Day. Oh, yes, as mentioned, it is a busy Saturday with 13 games in the National Hockey League. Rangers taking on the Nashville Predators a little bit later on tonight. We are super loaded with guests in the first hour, and we're jumping into it right away. Justin Tasch will join us in a second talking Rangers. He covers the Rangers for the New York Daily News at J_Tasch, at J_Tasch is how you follow him on Twitter, and he joins us now. Justin, I guess the first thing for the New York Rangers that we got to expect for today is we've got to have a better effort than we had in their last contest against the Toronto Maple Leafs. They were about as flaccid as you could be.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, they practiced for 2 days before coming back for their first game after the All-Star break. A lot of teams were back at it already, but they didn't have their first game till Thursday. They talked about having the opportunity to be recharged and re-energized, refocused, and all that cliched stuff. And then they came out and they were embarrassed. They were embarrassed by Toronto, a Maple Leaf team playing for the second consecutive night that had traveled from home the night before. It was the second time they were shut out all season. They just looked a step slow from start to finish. And for a team that, you know, is well aware of their situation and what's going on, and they realize that they're kind of playing to stay together here, it was kind of a little bit of a surprising effort. And, you know, it doesn't get any easier. Nashville tonight, Dallas on Monday, and then they got some more playoff teams on the docket. So, you know, performances like Thursday's certainly aren't going to cut it.
Did they address what they feel might be the reason for that disappointing effort, or is it kind of we just got to forget about it and focus on what's coming next? Because we got tough games and we got to win a bunch of games if we're going to make it into the playoffs.
I think it's sort of a mix. I mean, I think they don't want to completely flush it because, you know, they know that they can't replicate that kind of effort, but they also want to just look at tonight as another opportunity. And you could see some of the talk. They're looking at Nashville and they're looking at what they did last year as sort of the 16th seed, so to speak, that got into the playoffs and then went all the way to the Stanley Cup final. So they're kind of looking at them and saying, you know, all we need to do is get in, and then you never know what could happen. But you know, listen, they're 3-7 in their last 10, 6-9-2 in their last 17 games. Really, for 6 weeks or so now, it's been rough for them, and now they got more injury problems. Pavel Buchnevich suffered a concussion on Thursday night. They're already without Chris Kreider. They're already without Kevin Shattenkirk, who was playing hurt all year anyway. So the road only gets more arduous, and it's just there aren't any signs right now of a turnaround.
Justin, I want to ask you about the injuries a little bit more in just a second, but you mentioned what the Nashville Predators did a season ago, and that's kind of the hope and the approach that the New York Rangers are taking. But the Predators were building in the final half of the season and getting better and moving forward. I'm not getting that same feeling from this Rangers team that we've been watching, as you mentioned, with those disappointing records over the last 10 or 20 games.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, listen, they had that terrible start to the year. They were able to kind of bring themselves out of it, and they were in the playoff picture for a while. They were playing some decent hockey, and then this all kind of started on December 21st. It was a shootout loss to the Devils, but anyone who watched that game, if you recall, the Rangers were kind of run out of the building, and the only reason they even got a point that night was because of Henrik Lundqvist. The Devils were just all over them throughout the entire game, and really since then, they haven't played decent hockey at all. They've had some really bad efforts. They came back from their bye week, and they were completely flat against the Islanders, and then they lost to Pittsburgh the next night, had a couple home wins, but then their last road trip wasn't very good. No, you're completely right. I mean, those signs are not there right now for the Rangers, and the players are saying, it's on us in here to kind of turn the tide. But it's time to do it, because otherwise, it's never going to happen.
Justin Tasch is our guest, covers the New York Rangers for the Daily News. @J_Tasch is how you follow him on Twitter. Rangers with a contest later on this evening against the Nashville Predators. I like that all the players are saying the right things, that yes, we want to be here. Yes, we can do this. Yes, we want to be part of the solution and turning our season around and getting back in. But at the same time, I find that a little bit frustrating, watching as a Ranger fan and watching as a hockey fan, that there's enough talent on this team to be in the playoffs, but I don't know if it's a combination of injuries and frustration and just having the wrong player having a bad night on any given night that seems to have contributed to where they are this season.
Pretty much a cocktail of all of those things. They've had, their top players, really, aside from Henrik Lundqvist, who himself has now kind of had 2 rough games in a row, but he's, for so long, he was playing so well. But, a lot of their top players haven't played to their full potential. It hasn't been the best season for Ryan McDonough. Matt Zuccarello leads the team in points, but at times he's kind of been all over the place. Hasn't been consistent year for JT Miller. And then now you look at some of the guys that they're putting out there. I mean, they've had to go to Peter Holland. They've had to, they claim Cody McLeod off waivers to kind of try and bring a different element, which, I don't really know how much that's going to help them or not. But, as I mentioned before, Kreider, Shattenkirk, now Buchnevich, McDonough's had some injuries, and, he might still be playing through some nagging things. Kevin Hayes missed 6 games or so with an injury. So I think it's just a combination of, the roster overall isn't up to snuff. The talented players that they do have haven't played completely to their potential. Injuries now are kind of taking their toll. So, and now they've got another team ahead of them in Carolina. So it just seems like it's getting more and more difficult by the day here.
Justin, I want to ask you about Henrik Lundqvist too, because he's said that, yes, whatever happens with the Rangers going forward, that whether there is a change in approach as the deadline appears and after the deadline this season, whether it's a retool, refresh, or whatever reword you want to use to go along with that, he wants to be a part of the Rangers going forward. He wants to be to play his entire career with one franchise. How concerned should the Rangers be about Henrik Lundqvist, though, that he's had, it seems as though as we move through his career, he has more tougher nights than you'd like your number 1 goaltender to have?
Yeah, I mean, I would say last year there was kind of some concern, but, really before these last two games, since November 1st, he had really played spectacularly, I thought. And, I think he was deserving of going to the All-Star game. Some of the numbers don't look great. I mean, his goals against average doesn't look, sparkling by any means. But, you look at his save percentages and you look at the kind of shots that he's facing. The Rangers defensively have been messy for a long time. I mean, I mentioned that December 21st game. It kind of goes back to that. I mean, for a while now, they've been giving up so many grade A scoring chances, and just, net front presence hasn't been very good. Lundqvist, to me, showed something this year by kind of making an adjustment after a poor start, coming out further from his goal line, adjusting his style, being more aggressive, to try and, find success again. And he did for a long time. He's hit a little bit of a bump recently, but, I think he played well enough for long enough that he showed that, he still has some left, and physically he feels good, and he still has a lot of passion for the game. So I think if the Rangers can make the right moves here, and get younger, but with, good, ready NHL players, within the next year or two, and they still have Lundqvist playing at the kind of level that he did so far this year, which isn't a guarantee. I mean, at some point, age will catch up to him, but, if you figure he did this year, maybe he could do it next year, there's still maybe a window there. So I think that, they could be confident with him for another couple of years. But they got to try and make the right moves, to try and put the best roster they can in front of them. And certainly defensively, recently, he's gotten no help.
Yeah, that's true. So just before I let you go, Justin, what do you think? Does this roster look similar after February 26th, or do they decide, no, we're playing for next year?
I think they make changes. I think, especially with the guys that are going to be unrestricted free agents this summer, it just makes sense at this point to do it, because unless, it would take them winning the next, 9 or 10 games to kind of really show that they're capable of, not only, because it's one thing to get in, but that, you get into the playoffs and then what are you? Can you really make some noise in the playoffs? That's a whole other thing. So, they don't really accomplish much by going one and done. I mean, they've been through this before. They've had their playoff runs. So I think that they're, some of the guys that are going to be free agents this summer are going to get moved. You start to look at the guys with 1 year left after the season, guys like McDonough and Zuccarello. I don't think they'll be under pressure necessarily to kind of, move them, because, they could, they traded Derek Stepan at the draft last year. Those are where those kind of deals get done. But I do think there are changes before the deadline.
Justin Tasch covering the New York Rangers for the Daily News, at @J_Tasch to follow him on Twitter. Good discussion as always, Justin. Appreciate the time, and hopefully we'll have you back again soon.
No problem, Todd. Take care.
Thank you. Justin Tasch covering the New York Rangers. That just doesn't make sense to keep this Ranger team together, does it? I mean, you've got some good young players coming through. There's potential in the future, whether it's Vinny Lettieri or Bunieves. There's some good young players still. Brady Shea is a nice defenseman. I like him, but maybe it's time that Rick Nash moves on and some other players move on that are at the end of their contracts. It seems like some of the moves that the Rangers have made have just been absolute grasping at straws. I mean, that Justin mentioned the Peter Holland and Cody McLeod. I mean, that's desperation in hopes that you fling something against the wall and hope that it hangs there. But that's just go ahead, just take the ball, punt, and look ahead to next year. Not give up completely and take a knee, but there's got to be changes made with the New York Rangers. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Twitter and Instagram handles. A busy morning ahead, loaded with guests in our first hour. A couple more to come. Scott Burnside will join us. Dallas Stars insider Arthur Staple will join us. Get the latest on the New York Islanders and his new gig, too. Lots to get into. It is a Saturday, so of course we are looking for your nominations for the Dog of the Day. We like to honor great dogs, and we do it every Saturday. Their photo goes up on our Facebook page, in our gallery, on our website. Just send us a photo of your dog or a dog you love via Twitter, via Instagram, at Hockey Unfiltered. Use the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We'll pick a winner before the program is out. A busy program, 13 games on the NHL schedule. Oh, yes, we are loaded up and ready to go, all powered by Primetime Radio. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. Back with more after the break. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Look, we know it happens. Life gets in the way and sometimes you can't catch the live edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. But we've made it easy for you to catch up on the show you might have missed. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis is available as a podcast on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Blog Talk Radio. You don't want to miss an episode. If you miss the live show, check out the podcast. Don't miss any shows. There's a test coming up later. Subscribe now. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Use the code Get the Savings. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis listeners save with Seat Giant and the promo code TODD. That's TODD at SeatGiant.com. Just log on to SeatGiant.com to find the best tickets to NHL games, concerts, or whatever you want and save. Use the promo code TODD. That's TODD when you check out and you save. Canadian listeners can save at SeatGiant.ca. That's SeatGiant.com and .ca. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing, Nova Product Design, Industrial Design, Mechanical Engineering and Design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. Welcome back. This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. It's the Saturday edition, here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles. Yes, we are looking for your nominations for the Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo of your dog via Twitter, via Instagram. Use the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We select a winner every Saturday. Just our way of honoring great dogs. Tell us your name, your dog's name. We like to include that as well. Busy program coming up. Scott Burnside will join us momentarily to talk Dallas Stars. Also coming up to talk about the New York Islanders' Arthur Staple. We'll hear from Scott Billeck talking Winnipeg Jets. That was an interesting game. And of course, officiating, refereeing, and video review has been a topic over the last little while, so our friend Josh Smith from scoutingtherefs.com will be with us on the program as well. Dallas Stars getting set to host the Minnesota Wild on Saturday night. Wild were winners on Friday. The Stars were waiting at home and anxious to have the Wild come in. Scott Burnside is the Stars insider. You can follow him on Twitter at OvertimeScottB, and joins us now. Scott, it's great to have you, and it's good that this Dallas Stars team seems to have, through the first part of the year, mixed up line combinations, tried to figure out who they are. They seem to have found themselves, and this is a team that is growing and progressing and moving in the right direction as this season moves forward, kind of the way Ken Hitchcock, I think, envisioned it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth to that, and it was interesting, of course, when you look at the Western Conference standings as a whole, and you certainly look at the Central Division standings, it doesn't take much a trip sideways to put a lot of pressure on, whether it's Dallas Stars or any of the teams in Minnesota. I think is a good example of that. The team that the Stars will entertain tonight, and the Stars went through that. They had the stretch of, I would say, 5 or 6 weeks of their best hockey through December and into January. But coming out of the All-Star break, we're actually heading into it. They looked sluggish in a loss to the Leafs at home. Came back after All-Star weekend and were really manhandled by the Los Angeles Kings in the game after the All-Star break. And so, Ken Hitchcock was very candid, said, listen, this is the time of the season when teams need to be trending upwards. This is where the rubber hits the road, and we can't play like this. And they started out very poorly in Arizona on Thursday night, gave up the first goal. Scott Wedgwood, a surprise starter for the Coyotes, and they still looked out of sorts. But from the second period on, they reverted back to the level of play, a lot of forechecking, a lot of chances, a lot of contributions from up and down the lineup. Devon Shore had a terrific game, had a goal and an assist. So I think we saw a sign of that. And I'll tell you, that's what makes tonight's game so interesting, because Minnesota, they're definitely playing their best hockey of the season. And so coming in off a big win over the best team in the Western Conference and so the expansion team, I know they don't look like one, but this sets up a really interesting match tonight with the Wild just 1 point behind Dallas. They occupy the first and second wildcard spots in the Western Conference. So there's a lot on the line tonight for the Dallas Stars, and a real test. I know we use that, probably overuse the term, but with the standing so close and with the team hoping that they can revert back to the period of play where they were very good on the forecheck, where they got contributions from up and down the lineup. So this will be a good test to see whether they are sort of back on that arc or that track again.
And especially since this game is at home, you mentioned the one that was kind of a surprise, because the Stars, every time I watch them on home ice, it's for whatever reason, they seem to be a super energized team. They are heavy on forechecking. They are busy disrupting the opposition in their own end and creating opportunities for themselves.
Yeah, well, and that's certainly that. This is a different Dallas Stars team in many, many ways from the team that won the Central Division 2 years ago. There's still a lot of skill in this lineup. They still actually, the offense has been pretty good. Lots of creativity. The addition of Alexander Radulov, I think, has been probably the most significant of a series of off-season ads by the Dallas Stars. His energy, his ability to track down pucks and create offense from offensive zone turnovers. He might be as good at it as there is a player in the NHL. So we've seen a lot of that kind of hockey. The challenge, I think, for Ken Hitchcock is, continuing to get contributions, and it's not even so much the offense. I mean, obviously you'd like to get offensive production from all four of your lines, but the product of energy from all four lines that can lead to offense. And I think, at times that has been lacking for this team. And I think that will be the challenge as we head into the stretch. After tonight, there'll be 29 games left in the regular season. And, we know that as soon as once you get into the twos, if you will, it goes like lightning. So you have to be able to put poor performances behind you. You have to be able to put good performances behind you. You can't be resting on your laurels in this NHL the way it's set up. So certainly this is a Dallas team that, if they are successful, it's because of the group effort as opposed to relying on just one line. If they become that team, and they have been that team at some times during the season, they're much easier to defend, and frankly, they're not as dangerous by a long shot.
Dallas Stars insider Scott Burnside is our guest. Follow him on Twitter at @OvertimeScottB. The Stars hosting the Minnesota Wild in one of 13 contests on Saturday night. I know you wrote about this recently, and there hasn't been enough talk about it because of the season he's having, though. John Klingberg should be considered for the Norris Trophy. He has been playing sensational hockey for Dallas.
Yeah, it's been an interesting season for John Klingberg, and he and I spent some time chatting at All-Star, and I think people, they recognize his offensive skill set. I mean, he has for a lot of the last, 2 months or so, he has been the leader among all NHL defensemen in points produced. And I think having been a longtime member of the PHWA and a voter on the major awards as a result of being within the writers group, and I think we sometimes overemphasize the point totals from defensemen when we consider the Norris Trophy. I think that I think that's just natural, maybe, but I do think there is an issue with that. But I think what's been impressive about John Klingberg, and talking to other players and coaches at the All-Star game in Tampa last weekend, his emergence as a much more complete player, I think, is probably the sort of the part of the narrative that hasn't been as well told. You know, everyone, you know, you go back to Erik Karlsson when he was scoring 75 points, and, you know, we won his first 2 Norris trophies, and probably wasn't as reliable in his own zone. I think John Klingberg has followed a similar arc, and under Ken Hitchcock and with Rick Wilson, the defensive specialist on the coaching staff here, he has become a much more reliable player in his own zone, and he's talked about his own evolution, playing a much simpler game, like not trying to skate through 3 people every time to clear the puck, not trying to make a pass through a collection of bodies when he doesn't have to. And part of that is the education. It's the maturity for a young player who has a tremendous skill set, but doesn't need to rely on pure skill all the time. You have to understand the time of the game, the score of the game, what needs to be done for the good of the group, as opposed to what can I do in this moment. And I think that's, you know, when you talk to John Klingberg, that's been a real change for him. And he has, you know, he's taken to heart the setbacks and maybe some of the, you know, the errors in his game from early on in his career, and has tried to correct them. And I think he's done that to a large part. He's getting a little bit more penalty kill time, and I think that's important when you consider a Norris Trophy worthy candidate. He plays against top teams, top forwards a lot more than he has. There's no hiding him. He plays with Esa Lindell, and those two play a lot of minutes. They don't try and hide them in the lineup, so it's that situation has gone by the board. So I think that's, for me, the interesting part about watching John Klingberg this year. I mean, he, you know, offensively, I don't know anyone who walks the blue line like him. He has an incredible knack of getting shots through to the net. And we even saw at the All-Star game, right? He pounded a puck at 97.6 miles an hour in the hardest shot competition, which I think was a surprise to everyone, including John Klingberg.
Yeah, that was a pretty good display a week ago in Tampa Bay. Hey, just before I let you go too, I gotta ask you quickly. Ben Bishop has been, I think, what the Stars were looking for in terms of the goaltending, but let's not overlook what Kari Lehtinen has done recently for the Stars too. He's also played well when called upon.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it's interesting you should bring that up, because it's been a very rare occurrence that Kari Lehtinen will get a start at home. He's sort of become the road warrior. He hasn't played all that much. The workload has been shouldered much more by Ben Bishop, as you would expect. And he started. We played in 40 games. Kari Lehtinen's played in 16. But Kari Lehtinen has been a player that Ken Hitchcock has turned to at times, especially on the road, when the team needs a lift. And as a backup goalie, those are difficult situations. He got a very important win in Boston in overtime to start a successful Eastern road trip about 2 weeks ago. He got the win in Arizona the other night that stopped the 2-game slide. And he will get the start tonight against Minnesota, because Ben Bishop, unfortunately for him, took a puck in the face during the Arizona game while he was sitting on the bench. Puck deflected up and hit him in the face, so he won't be available tonight. But Kari Lehtinen will get the start, and he has been he's just been very, very solid for the Dallas Stars this season. And his work ethic and his presence in the dressing room, he remains a very important part of this team.
Set your lineups accordingly. Scott Burnside with the update on the starting goaltender for the Dallas Stars as they host the Minnesota Wild. Follow Scott on Twitter at @OvertimeScottB. Great stuff as always, Scott. Appreciate it. And hopefully we can do it again soon.
Yep, anytime.
Appreciate it. Scott Burnside covering the Dallas Stars insider. And yeah, that's right. I remember the sitting on the bench, Ben Bishop just oops, and then got dinged by the puck. We'll hope that it's not too serious and he gets back into the lineup for the Dallas Stars soon. But it will be Kari Lehtinen getting the starter's net for the Dallas Stars as they get set to host the Minnesota Wild, one of 13 on the Saturday schedule. It is a busy day. It is a busy program ahead. Coming up, Josh Smith will join us from scoutingtherefs.com. Yeah, there's a lot to get into in terms of refereeing, officiating, and video review. Scott Billeck will join us and get us the latest on the Winnipeg Jets, and lots more to come as well. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles. Looking for your Dog of the Day nominations. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Send us a photo. Tell us your name, your dog's name, and why they're such a great dog. We like to honor great dogs every Saturday. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. We'll talk New York Islanders with Arthur Staple right after the break.
There's special savings for Hockey Unfiltered listeners with our new ticket partner, Seat Giant. And Canadian fans can also purchase in Canadian dollars. Go to SeatGiant.ca, find the tickets you're looking for. Doesn't matter if it's NHL games, concerts, or any other event. You get a special discount with the promo code TODD. That's Todd with 2 Ds. Just enter the code, get the discount, you save. That's simple. Save on your next ticket purchase with Hockey Unfiltered and Seat Giant. The best way to get set for the busy Saturday night of hockey is with Hockey Primetime. Beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern, host Connor McKenna whips you around the league for the latest stories and info leading up to the early game starts. Plus, he'll give his own spin on the biggest stories in the National Hockey League. Hockey Primetime with Connor McKenna. Sometimes serious, sometimes a little goofy, but always interesting. Listen live at hockeyprimetime.com, 5 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. Search engine optimization is the key to success for your online business. It can be the key to success for any business. 1-844-SEO-LEAD is the number to call to get your business at the top of all searches. An official partner of Google, they have the tools necessary to make your business the one people notice first. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now you can nominate your dog or any dog you love as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day through Instagram. Every Saturday, Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis will take your nominations for the Dog of the Day. Use the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Send us a photo with the dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate your dog. We choose a winner at the end of the show, and your dog will be recognized in the HU Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Creativity and innovation are the hallmarks of Nova Product Design. Whether it's mechanical or industrial, cutting-edge technology and a commitment to excellence make Nova Product Design the company to choose. Prototypes and beta units are a Nova Product Design specialty. Striving for revolutionary new ideas and methods keep Nova Product Design at the forefront of innovation. Visit novaproductdesign.com and learn more.
Welcome back. This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. It's the Saturday edition here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific at hockeyunfiltered.com, streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app. Available for download now at the App Store. It's all powered by Primetime Radio. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. That's where we're looking for your Dog of the Day nominations as well. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day. It's a busy Saturday in the National Hockey League with 13 games on the go. I'm liking it. I like these busy Saturdays. It's great. And starting next week, Sundays get a little busier as well, so you can load up your weekend. One of the games we're focused on and interested in, the New York Islanders hosting the Columbus Blue Jackets. Jackets fell Friday night at home to the San Jose Sharks. New York Islanders looking to get back and get in some victories and get themselves back in a playoff position. The man who has covered the New York Islanders for a long time continues to do so, but has a new gig as a member of the Athletic of New York City, Arthur Staple, with a new Twitter handle, @StapeAthletic. And he joins us now. Arthur, congratulations on the new adventure. Got to be a little exciting and maybe a little scary too after so long at the old shop.
Yeah, 20 years at Newsday and last 7 or 8 covering the Islanders. So it's fun adventure to do it for another outlet, but it'll be nice, smooth transition. I think seeing the same team and the same fans following along. So a little scary, but not quite as much as it could have been.
No, that's great. Congratulations. It's terrific news, and glad to know, best of all, that you're still covering the New York Islanders. And I'm kind of thinking at this team, are we sort of reaching a crossroads in the season for this team? There looks like there's some needs. They have so much other stuff going on with the franchise. We're kind of at a point where it seems like there's people sort of waiting for something to happen with the New York Islanders.
Yeah, certainly from the outside, they obviously, going into the All-Star break, had a pretty successful road trip for a couple of cities that are tough to win in. They won big in Chicago and then beat Vegas in Vegas, which is near impossible to do. And I'm sure that they were feeling pretty good about things, even though they were still sitting on the outside of the playoff race. And then they come back from the weekend and kind of a no-show at home against Florida, and then get blitzed in Toronto. And yeah, it's definitely kind of encapsulates what's really been going on with their season. A lot of inconsistency, a lot of inability to, not just from game to game, but sometimes from period to period, to put forth the same sort of effort and complete what Doug Wade and his coaching staff have set out for them to execute. And it starts from the front and goes to the defense and back to the goaltending. And it just seems like it's endemic of all areas of their play, that there's just not enough consistency from shift to shift and period to period. And that sort of tells you that maybe this roster is lacking a little bit. And I'm sure a lot of teams feel that way right now with a few weeks to go until the trade deadline. You can just see it even with the Islanders, the teams right around them, including their opponent tonight, Columbus, just a couple points ahead of them. Columbus inside the playoff bubble, the Islanders on the outside, the Rangers are right there, Carolina's there also. Both of those teams are very inconsistent. Philly's lost 3 in a row. The Devils sagged for a little bit. Pittsburgh's on a roll, but they played a lot more games than everybody else. It's pretty crazy, and I don't think anybody really feels like they're out of it, which also impacts who you can try to go out and get and try to fill some of these holes with really just a few teams that are probably straight sellers right now. And prices being very high. The Islanders, I'm sure, could use a goalie to change things up. I'm sure they could use a defenseman. They're pretty thin back there. But those are two areas where you're not going to find anything cheap, and that's probably the difficult part for Garth Snow right now.
And I guess that dictates how Garth Snow, the general manager, approaches the deadline. We're still a few weeks away. Do you wait a week or two and hope that there are more sellers and something more to your liking comes up? Or do you have to kind of hold your nose and jump in right away? Because if you get someone and it does give your team the boost you need, it could be the difference between making the playoffs and missing.
Sure. And yeah, there's definitely a need for the Islanders to improve, and if that's the route they have to go to do it, then you think they'd want to do it sooner rather than later, just to get a jump on everybody. But obviously the price has to be right. They do have an extra first and an extra second this year from Calgary, from the Travis Hamonic deal last summer, and I think the catch-22 situation that the Islanders find themselves in right now is that obviously John Tavares hasn't decided anything yet, and he's still a member of the Islanders, and he's not going anywhere until he decides he wants to give up the chase for an extension with this team or leave in free agency. But they need some certainty on John Tavares, I would think, before you could decide whether or not those 2 first-rounders, which could potentially be 2 lottery picks, trade one or both of those for short-term help, and John Tavares decides to leave. How do you rebuild with no first-rounders and a big giant hole at the top of your lineup? So, I'm sure that Garth Snow and Doug Wade and the entire Islanders organization were hoping that they'd be in a lot more secure position right now when it comes to the playoff race, but they're not. They do have some failings. They do have some holes to fill. So I imagine that it's been that way for several weeks, with Garth Snow weighing whether to give up one of these first-rounders for some short-term or possibly longer than the rental situation type of help. Where do you fill that hole? Is it in goal? Is it on defense? Do you add another depth forward, because their third and fourth lines have basically been non-existent the last couple of months? There's a lot of questions, and there's a lot of potential answers out there that are going to cost the Islanders a lot with what they've got to offer. And I imagine that's been the conundrum for Garth Snow for going on a few weeks right now.
Arthur Staple is our guest, covers the New York Islanders for The Athletic, New York City. @Stape Athletic is the new Twitter handle for Arthur. Okay, so since you brought up John Tavares, I guess we have to talk about it now. I don't think that John Tavares is going to make his decision until the off season. I think the New York Islanders have to give him all the time he needs and wants. I don't think that they are going to trade John Tavares before the deadline. I don't think they are going to ask for his list of teams that he would permit a trade to happen. I believe it's a list of 8 that he can't be traded to. I think that would only work against the Islanders and their hopes of re-signing him. I think to have the best opportunity, they need to do everything they can to show that they want to win. They want to win long term. They want to win with him, and hope that their selling pitch is the best one that he hears prior to July 1st.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. You know, he does have that 8-team no trade list, and from what I understand, the Islanders have never asked for it, and they certainly haven't asked for it this year. And as Garth Snow told my colleague Pierre LeBrun a couple days ago, they're not trading John Tavares. I don't see that changing. He doesn't want to be moved. Islanders ownership has made it pretty clear since last year when Scott Malkin would have regular meetings with Pat Brisson, John Tavares' agent, presumably to update him on the state of negotiations on a new arena, things that don't really have much to do with the on-the-ice situation. I think from that, those meetings, you could certainly infer that the Islanders owners had kind of taken over this process from Garth Snow. They made it priority number one. Obviously, maybe the arena was priority number one. They accomplished that. So priority number two is to make sure John Tavares is the captain of this team for at least the next 8 years beyond this year, and hopefully even longer than that, or at least until he decides that he doesn't want to play in the NHL anymore. So, I don't see it as a hockey-related situation even right now. I think this is ownership and CAA, and when the time is right, John Tavares says yes, let's talk contract. I think it's going to be quick and very favorable for John Tavares. And if he says no, I'm going to wait until whether it's that last week before free agency to hear some pitches from some other teams, or even into July 1. I think that's whatever he says, the Islanders are going to be okay with, and that may not sit well, especially if they lose another few games as we get closer to February 26th, where Tavares is really the one asset the Islanders have that they could trade for a pretty big haul at this trade deadline. And with that one off the table, there's not a lot else to sell for them. They're not really in a situation to pile up draft picks and prospects with a lot of pending free agents that could bring in a big haul. So it's an interesting situation these next few weeks. And obviously the easiest answer from the Islanders situation is win some games, get back into a playoff spot, and that can determine what they want to do as we get to the deadline.
Sure. But it just, to me, it doesn't make any sense for the Islanders to do anything but keep John Tavares. We're not, if they ask him for teams that he won't be traded to, I think they've sealed their fate at that point. I think that they realize that it may not happen, but I think that they would be pushing John Tavares out the door. They have to be willing and confident in themselves to go forward and make a deal after the season, because I don't think he wants to decide until then. I think he's maintained all along that he wants to gather as much information as he can, and I don't think you can do that while you're playing during the season. It's a little bit different, but it's kind of Steven Stamkos 2.0.
Yeah, I think it's similar, and obviously, the Lightning were within a game of the Stanley Cup final that last year for Stamkos. So that's probably a bigger difference. Steven Stamkos had a much more productive, much more successful team around him. I think John Tavares, with the Islanders arena situation settled and knowing where he'll be in 3 seasons time after this year, has got to probably be a good feeling just in terms of the credibility of the franchise. But I would assume next he's looking at whether he can win with this team. And, I imagine that's still a question that remains to be answered. I'm sure he has some ideas, and obviously a lot of the fans have already decided for him, some strongly negative and some strongly positive about what they feel about the future of this team. So, but I think he's the only one who knows the answer to that. And like you said, in the absence of that, the Islanders have to treat him as a guy who they want to keep, and you can't be asking for a list of teams. You can't be, testing the waters to see what you can get for him. And I don't think Garth Snow is going to do any of those things. So he's an Islander till the end of the season, whenever that is, and then we'll see what happens after that.
Yeah. Okay. Let's end on some positives. Anders Lee scored a bunch of goals for the Islanders. Matthew Barzal's having a terrific season. Josh Bailey's also having a terrific season for the New York Islanders. There's some positives that they can build on and hopefully start winning some games.
Yeah, their top 6 has really been productive, and you can see it in these last 2 games when they're not generating a whole lot, and the Islanders aren't generating a whole lot. They're just, from the back end, they haven't really created a lot of offense, and obviously have struggled a lot giving up goals. But yeah, the point production from those guys in the top 6, whether it's Matthew Barzal having a fantastic rookie season, Tavares still among the top 10 in scoring, Josh Bailey having a great year, also a contract year for him, Anders Lee among the top 5 in goals. Jordan Eberle's been a fantastic addition, and even Anthony Beauvillier, who really lost the first couple of months of the season, comes back after the team's 5-day break, and he's one of the hottest scorers in the NHL with 8 goals in his last 10 games. So they've got some options up top, and really that's been the driving force to whatever success they've had this year, and they certainly have had some. But the consistency factor, I think, with a lot of the rest of this lineup needs to be a little bit better.
Arthur Staple with the latest on the New York Islanders for the Athletic New York City. @Stape Athletic is the Twitter handle. Congratulations again on the new gig, Arthur. Always enjoy the discussion, and I look forward to your next visit. Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot, Todd. Anytime.
Thanks. Arthur Staple covering the New York Islanders. Now for the Athletic New York City, which launches in a week or so. Arthur just mentioned a bunch of really good names for the New York Islanders. Josh Bailey, yeah, he needs a contract, but that's certainly doable. Even with the uncertainty of John Tavares, Matthew Barzal, Anders Lee, Jordan Eberle has kind of found his way. Anthony Beauvillier, there's some good young players. I still think there's a place for Josh Hosang as well, but that's my thing. But there's some good young players. Even if the Tavares thing doesn't play out, it's not the end of the world. Hey, it's a ginormous blow, absolutely. But there's a lot of good positives and reasons for John Tavares to want to stay and be a part of it. Yes, the arena deal settled, but it's still going to be 3 years before it's built. It's the future of the franchise going forward, and some goaltending, some defensive help would go a long way to helping solidify John Tavares as a member of the New York Islanders. @Hockey Unfiltered, @Todd Lewis Sports, our Twitter and Instagram handles, looking for your nominations for the Dog of the Day. #HU Dog of the Day. Send us a photo. Submit a dog for the Dog of the Day honors. We like to recognize great dogs. Tell us your name. Tell us your dog's name. And a busy hour number 2 coming up with lots of guests, including Scott Billeck, who will have the latest on the Winnipeg Jets, and Josh Smith from scoutingtherefs.com, who will talk to us about video review, officiating, and a whole bunch more. 4 games on Friday. Haven't gotten into much of that. There's still some discussion and points from Friday night's games I want to make mention of. The commissioner of the National Hockey League celebrated 25 years on the job this past week. Some thoughts on Gary Bettman. I think a few of them will surprise you. Some information as well. We'll get into that and a whole bunch more. We'll tee up the busy Saturday schedule as well. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back with more after the break. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff, the Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Nova Product Design is designed for manufacturing. Nova Product Design can get the job done with mechanical and industrial design. Nova Product Design is also fully functional for laser cutting, water jet cutting, plating, coatings, and more. Nova Product Design, innovative design, and the latest technologies. Nova Product Design can design, build, and test any required types of prototypes and beta units. Visit novaproductdesign.com. We're looking for your Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day nominations every Saturday. Now you can send them through Instagram. Use the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Send us a photo of your dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate them as the HU Dog of the Day. Include your name, the dog's name, and any other cool details you want. We choose a winner and add them to the Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day.
This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. It's the Saturday edition, here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific at hockeyunfiltered.com. We're streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app, live on Facebook, on Periscope, YouTube Live. It's all powered by Primetime Radio. First hour is sailing by. Good guests, good discussion. Oh, yes, getting the latest on the New York Islanders, the New York Rangers, the Dallas Stars. They're all in action on Saturday. Is it a busy Saturday with 13 games, a couple of afternoon contests as well, which we like. Anaheim is at Montreal, Ottawa's at Philadelphia. Then there's a whole whack of 7 p.m. starts and some later starts as well. A little bit of info on who's in, on who's out on some of the games. Morgan Rielly and Ron Hainsey will return to the lineup for the Toronto Maple Leafs as they get set to face the Boston Bruins. Charlie McAvoy is also scheduled to be in the lineup for the Boston Bruins as those two teams face off. That could be a first round playoff matchup. And Toronto's not that far behind Boston anymore. It's getting good. It's getting to the good time of year. We're into February. It doesn't matter that the groundhog, depending on which one you follow, said that, oh, yeah, we got 6 more weeks of winter. We got 2 more months of hockey, and then we got 2 months of Stanley Cup playoffs, and that's good. That's the good stuff. We got 4 games from Friday night, some really interesting matchups as well, some interesting results. The Caps and Penguins, that rivalry, that could be another matchup in the postseason. Whether it's the first round or not, we'll see. But we had Sid and Ovi going at it again. What a great game! What an interesting game! What a curious game that it was. A little leftover news from the game, as a matter of fact. TJ Oshie is going to be $5,000 lighter because of a cross check to the head of Chris Letang that he inflicted in the game last night. But we had quite a game between these two division rivals. Wasn't the 8-7 back and forth beauty that they played a year ago, but it was really good. It was really fun. Now, who remembers when I said a couple months ago, I'm not worried about the Pittsburgh Penguins. Pittsburgh Penguins are going to be okay. Antti Niemi was signed, didn't work out, got rid of him. Tristan Jarry's been good. DeSmith has also been okay when he's needed. They got another center. There's still probably a move or two to make. But who's still worried about the Pittsburgh Penguins? Probably a little depth that you could look for going up to the deadline. Maybe another defenseman, maybe another forward. But Geno Malkin has been on a run. He has been a terror to the opposition. Sidney Crosby, yeah, he's okay. I think it's an 11-game point streak now. Phil Kessel, all he does is score. 2 more snipes last night. He's up to 23 on the year. Malkin's got 27. This was an interesting game. The Penguins come out on top. 7-4 is the final. Before we get into a little bit with the Caps, just to recognize, Alex Ovechkin, 2 goals last night in a losing effort. He's up to 32. That's 10 away now from 600. Couple of weeks, end of February, he's at 600 goals. I think this game, the 7-4 loss to the Pittsburgh Penguins by the Washington Capitals, I think this is a bit of a humbling game for the Capitals. They should learn from it. There's the history of playoff disappointment with the Washington Capitals against the Pittsburgh Penguins. It is a mental hurdle they are going to have to overcome. They started the season a little bit unsure of who they were, what their lineup was going to be, what they provided, how good they were going to be. Was it going to be a step back year? But they've made progress. They found their way up to the top of the division. Now they're feeling heat from their old friend, the Pittsburgh Penguins, who are only 4 points back. Now, the important thing for the Capitals, as I said, it's to learn from this. Use the cliche, it's a measuring stick game, whatever you want to call it. But the Capitals have got to start to show some mental toughness. They have to ignore what's gone on in the past. They got to put it in a box. They got to forget about it. They got to focus on the current task, which is finding a way to beat Pittsburgh, because they're going to have to go through them to progress further. Is it realistic? Is it possible? Sure. Pittsburgh can be an intimidating force, especially when they have beaten you up in playoff series and ended your season prematurely as they have in the past. But they've got to find a way to get past that mental hurdle. That's the challenge for Barry Trotz and the Capitals right now. figuring out how to mentally get past and be confident in your ability that you can beat this team. Pittsburgh is an intimidating team that forces you into mistakes. You see Crosby, you see Malkin, you see Kessel and others. It's an intimidating team. They're two-time defending Stanley Cup champions now. That makes them even more intimidating. Best example was last night in the second goal that the Penguins scored. Christian Djoos, who's been a good defenseman, a good young defenseman for the Capitals this year, he has a total brain fart on the ice, trying to send the puck across to his partner. Carl Hagelin is in good position, has his stick on the ice, intercepts the pass, knocks it away. Bang, it's in the net past Braden Holtby. They're up 2-0. That's the kind of intimidation that Pittsburgh gives you. Pittsburgh's up 2-0 at that point. They go up 3-1, but good for the Capitals. They found a way to come back. They found a way to come back. They got even, and then, then it's 4-4, and then Pittsburgh takes over again. And later on in that game, Washington looked like they checked out. A little bit of experience will help Washington. An experienced defenseman doesn't have to be the greatest defenseman, but a little bit of experience will help. That might help them get over the mental hurdle that's necessary to get past the Pittsburgh Penguins. They can do it. They just need to convince themselves in their own mind that they can beat the Pittsburgh Penguins. But right now, they go into Pittsburgh especially, they're intimidated. Sure, they beat them in the regular season last year. How did it turn out in the playoffs? They still got to figure out a way to get past that and move forward. They've got plenty of talent. Winning's not just about physical execution. It's about mental preparedness, mental toughness, determination, and getting past an intimidating opponent who, given the smallest chance, will find a way to beat you. And that's what the Pittsburgh Penguins did on Friday night. Going to be interesting to see. Will they meet in the postseason? I don't know. Will it be in the first round? I don't know. But Washington's got to find a way to beat Pittsburgh if they want to go any further. Hour number 2 flying by. A busy hour number 2 straight ahead. Scott Billeck will join us. We'll get the latest on the Winnipeg Jets. Josh Smith. Oh, yeah, there's a lot to get into with video review. And after the break at the top of the hour, I want to talk about the commissioner a little bit. Celebrated 25 years as the commissioner of the National Hockey League on February 1st. There's a lot we don't know about the commissioner. There's a lot of misunderstanding, I think, about Gary Bettman. But make no mistake, he's done an awful lot of good for the NHL. Oh, yeah, lots of people dislike him. Lots of people more than dislike him. He gets a bad rap, but he's okay with that. And that's part of what makes him as good as he is at that job. We'll talk a little bit about that, get you set for the busy Saturday in the National Hockey League. Afternoon contests as well. Montreal playing the first of their 2 weekend afternoon games. Phillies in action as well in the afternoon. Much more to come. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis back after the break. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff, the Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Nova Product Design is designed for manufacturing. Nova Product Design can get the job done with mechanical and industrial design. Nova Product Design is also fully functional for laser cutting, water jet cutting, plating, coatings, and more. Nova Product Design, innovative design, and the latest technologies. Nova Product Design can design, build, and test any required types of prototypes and beta units. Visit novaproductdesign.com. We're looking for your Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day nominations every Saturday. Now you can send them through Instagram. Use the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Send us a photo of your dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate them as the HU Dog of the Day. Include your name, the dog's name, and any other cool details you want. We choose a winner and add them to the Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day.
This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis.
Hour number 2 set to go. It's Saturday, the first one in February. It's full of NHL action, starting with afternoon contests, a bunch of early evening games, late games as well. And then it's all afternoon on Sunday. Scott Billeck will join us this hour, get the latest on the Winnipeg Jets. He covers the Jets for NHL.com. Oh, there could be some good news for the Winnipeg Jets on the horizon. Injured player Mark Scheifele is getting close. Also coming up this hour, our friend from scoutingtherefs.com, Josh Smith, will join us. If you're not following him on Twitter, at scoutingtherefs, you should. We'll have the latest ref report, hashtag ref report. There's been so much discussion and talk over the last few weeks, and it got revved up again a couple of nights ago about goaltender interference and video review and officiating. And I got a couple other questions for Josh as well. He's going to join us later on this hour, and it could go a while, but there's a lot of interesting stuff to get into. Follow us on social media at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles. It's Saturday, so of course we're looking for your nominations for the Dog of the Day. Some we do every Saturday, started years ago. Some people got on our case about it, but so what? Hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Send us a photo of your dog on Twitter, on Instagram. We select a winner every Saturday. We like to honor great dogs with a good story. Tell us your name, the story of how you and your dog came together. We'll select a winner as we do every Saturday. The photo will go up in our gallery, on our Facebook page, and up on our website. 4 games on Friday night. Talked a little bit about Pittsburgh and Washington in the last hour. Pittsburgh with a 7-4 victory. Malkin with 4 points, Kessel with a couple of goals. Ovi had a couple of goals as well. But Pittsburgh defeats Washington, as we've seen before. Washington's got to get over the mental hurdle. Other games from Friday, Detroit Red Wings, 4-1 winners over the Carolina Hurricanes. Oh, yeah. Detroit, I don't know. I find it hard to get excited about them or the Carolina Hurricanes. Carolina had a shutout victory against Montreal, and then they let one get away. San Jose with a 3-1 victory over the Columbus Blue Jackets. A nice workman-like effort from the San Jose Sharks. Took advantage of their power plays, got a couple of power play goals. They get a 3-1 win over the Columbus Blue Jackets. And the Minnesota Wild were revved up and anxious to play at home. Maybe it's all that Super Bowl excitement that's all over the city. But they rolled up a 5-2 victory over the Vegas Golden Knights. As mentioned, it's a busy Saturday with afternoon action. Anaheim's at Montreal. Ottawa's at Philadelphia. Toronto at Boston, a good early matchup. There's a bunch of good games on the schedule. Pittsburgh at New Jersey, Columbus and the Islanders, Rangers in Nashville, Minnesota, Dallas. There's a lot of good games up on the schedule. Super Bowl weekend, busy Saturday, and as mentioned, there's 3 more games tomorrow. They're all in the afternoon, so everybody can focus on the big game. Have you noticed an increase in the intensity of the games in the last few days? I have. As soon as the All-Star break finished and everybody kind of jumped back into it, all the 5-day bye weeks were gone. The All-Star break was over. It's like, okay, everybody's back at it now. The intensity just kind of took a step up. It's good. I think it's good for everyone. It's especially evident for teams that are battling to try to get into the postseason or solidify their position. The level of compete, the level of intensity has definitely gone up to a higher standard since the All-Star break has ended. And it's going to keep going that way for the next couple of months. From this past week, on February 1st, Commissioner of the National Hockey League, Gary Bettman, celebrated 25 years in office. Congratulations to the Commissioner. That is a remarkable accomplishment. After all that has transpired over 25 years, congratulations. He has overseen, he has championed a lot of change and a lot of positive in the league. A couple days ago, I tweeted out and I posted up on our Facebook page a terrific piece by Kevin McGran from the Toronto Star that's up. You can check out. It's very lengthy, but it's worth the time to invest in and have a read. It explores a lot of what has occurred over the last 25 years when the commissioner has headed up the National Hockey League. And you also learn a lot about the person, Gary Bettman. He's very buttoned down, doesn't like to reveal too much, but there's some interesting details about the person, about the man who is the head of the National Hockey League in this piece by Kevin McGran of the Toronto Star. One, he loves dogs. He is a huge dog fan. His day usually starts and ends by hustling out his two golden doodles, Lola and Teddy, out for a run. Hands up if you knew that. Right, nobody. But that's the commissioner, that's the personal and private commissioner. But I think it's really interesting. Gives you a sense of who he is. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Submit your dog for nomination. There's a number of people quoted anonymously in the piece by Kevin McGran. They speak about how smart he is, how smart a negotiator he is. And if you don't think he's a smart guy, you are really mistaken. He is extremely intelligent. He also, and I think this is one of the keys to his success, he has and he uses a much longer term when thinking about items that he has to deal with. Our society, our culture becomes more and more focused on the immediate. We want instant return. We want instant gratification, whether we're talking about our team turning around a losing streak or our team getting out of the doldrums and getting back into the playoffs. Oh, people won't stand for rebuilds or retools. We want immediate satisfaction. We want immediate gratification. But Commissioner Gary Bettman understands that getting what you want and what you need often takes longer than most people are patient for. It's a longer process sometimes to get what you need. It needs to be divided up into a series of accomplishments, picking up the pieces, and then eventually getting where you want to be. And it served him really well. Commissioner Bettman gets hammered for being anti-Canadian. No Canadian teams won the Cup since he's been commissioner. It's a conspiracy. Yeah, okay. He's actually done quite a lot to help Canadian franchises. And he's doing it now. He will assist in Calgary and Ottawa having new buildings before too long. You may not think so. He'll get it done. He's done it in the past. He will do it again. The other part that makes him as good as he is at doing his job, he doesn't mind if people dislike him. And there are very few people that can get away with that and deal with that. I don't want to say hate, but I think some people do. And he can deal with that and he can live with that. It's a strong word, but there are some people that do feel that way, and that's unfortunate. He can deal with that. He also doesn't have a problem telling people what he wants and what he thinks of their plans. If he likes something, he'll tell you. When he has all the information he needs, he also has no trouble making a decision. That's also a fault of many. They're unpopular. Not a lot of people like them sometimes, but he has no problem making a decision and then dealing with the darts and arrows that get thrown at him. And if you're going to do that job, you have to accept that. How many popular league commissioners are? How popular do you think Roger Goodell is? There's way too many people in all areas of life that'll do everything they can to avoid making decisions, especially ones that are unpopular, because they want to be liked. If you're the commissioner, you are not going to be liked or loved by many. He is by his family and people important to him, and he's good with that. He's strong enough that he can understand that and isn't afraid to move forward. He would rather not, I suspect, be known about as the guy who presided over the NHL during the lockouts. It was pain that kind of was necessary as the league sees it. When he took over the NHL, it was a mom and pop business. This was a corner variety store. Now it is a multi-billion-dollar corporation that is growing and expanding. That doesn't happen without a plan. That doesn't happen without hard choices. No players want to miss the Olympics. But that was the choice that had to be made. NHL players have a short shelf life. Say, yeah, I want to play in the Olympics. He said, nope, it's not the time to go. He's taken the heat. He's taken all the arrows for this. He's strong enough to handle it. The decision was made for a variety of reasons because of business, and the objective is to grow the NHL business. It's not in their best interest to go to Pyeongchang. There will be a lot of talk about this over the next week. There will be a lot of player bitching and griping and fans griping about it, but it was the right choice. I do believe the NHL players will return to the Olympics, likely in 2022 in China. It'll probably be tied to a new CBA. Sorry, I had to mention that, but it's fast approaching. It will also involve more European games, more World Cup, maybe Ryder Cup, but it's something that's going to be negotiated and it's going to work for the league before he's going to say yes. And that's not going to be a popular decision, but it's going to be the right one. It'll happen when the circumstances are right. Would the hockey games at the Olympics be better with NHL players there? Yeah, sure, it'd be a higher caliber. There'll still be good stories. But if they're not there, what happens? Well, I suspect that the International Olympic Committee realizes that, you know what? We got to have these players here because we got a way better hockey tournament and we got way more interest in our games when the NHL is playing at the Olympics. Great. How can we make that happen? It becomes a much more equitable negotiation process. Sometimes you got to go away and show how much you're needed before you can get the deal that you want. The NHLPA will realize that they can have the Olympics, but it's going to be part of the negotiation process. They are going to have to negotiate that into the CBA. Sorry. Last deal, both put it aside and said, nope, we'll deal with it separately. That was a mistake. Commissioner knew it. He understood it. He took advantage of it. He's played the card. He won't get the opportunity to play it again, but he is using it to the maximum. He is looking way beyond next week's start of the Olympic Games. He's looking at games way beyond that. And that's the thing that works to his advantage far more than it does to many others. Everybody wants immediate change, immediate gratification. Doesn't work that way. There will be NHL players at the Olympics, I believe, in the future. Probably starting in 2022, but it's going to be negotiated in. And there might be some difficulties getting to that point. There might be something that the NHLPA realizes they may have to give up or ease up on to make that happen. But their players are going to want to go. And that's going to be the interesting part, is how the players' union approaches this. Because it's only a handful of players that are going to be going. More than half of them are going to be staying home and putting their feet up for a couple of weeks. Oh, and by the way, where's the Olympics going to be after China? Let's see. The Winter Olympics, this one is in Pyeongchang, China. Oh, it probably makes sense that it's going to be back in North America. You don't think the commissioner hasn't thought of that as part of his negotiations and discussions? He absolutely has. So yeah, he takes a lot of heat, takes a lot of garbage. A lot of it probably undeserved. He's okay, though, with being unpopular. And that's what I want in a commissioner, someone who's going to make choices and make decisions and be prepared with the unpopular label that he's likely to get after making those choices and decisions, because it's in the best interest of the league. Might not see it now, might not see it for a year, might not see it for 10 years, but it's worked out well. Check out the piece by Kevin McGrand. We've retweeted it, and it's up on our Facebook page as well. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handle. Still looking for your Dog of the Day nominations. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We select a great dog to honor every Saturday. Make them our Dog of the Day. Send us a photo, the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Tell us your name, your dog's name, and if there's a little backstory as well, we like that also. Josh Smith will join us shortly to discuss video review, officiating, some quirky calls that we've seen over the last few days as well. And Scott Billeck from NHL.com coming up in our next segment. Latest on the Winnipeg Jets. Oh, there could be some good news coming up. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing. Nova Product Design. Industrial design. Mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff. The Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.
Welcome back. This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. It's the Saturday edition. We're here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles. We're live at hockeyunfiltered.com, streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app. It's all powered by Primetime Radio. Coming up on the program, Josh Smith will join us. Oh, yeah, there's officiating and ref talk. Our ref report, hashtag ref report, coming up. Pleased to welcome back to the program the gentleman that covers the Winnipeg Jets for NHL.com. You can follow him on Twitter at Scott Billeck. And Scott joins us now. Scott, have the Jets calmed down after that whole video review incident from a couple of days ago against the Vegas Golden Knights, or is it still kind of burning in the back of their mind?
No, I think they've kind of gotten past it. It's one of the things that the Jets have kind of been able to do this year is, get past these kind of little adversities, whether it's a loss or, obviously the call on Thursday night in that second period goal by our call of the Golden Knights. This team has been able to kind of, just put things behind them and move on. But it was got pretty heated here on Thursday night. Maybe one of the best night of quotes that I've seen around here since I've been covering for the last 5 years. So they've gotten past it. I would say you have to. Got another big divisional game tonight against the Colorado Avalanche. So they need to kind of, move past that, know that there's not much you can do about what happened. But, things were pretty hairy around here on Thursday, that's for sure.
You make a good point about the necessity to get past it, because a division game against the Colorado Avalanche, who find themselves just outside the wild card as play is set to begin on Saturday. But they're not that far away from the Winnipeg Jets, and the Jets are feeling heat from the Nashville Predators, who are just 2 points behind, and then St. Louis is just 2 points behind them. So there's been an intensity in the Central Division all season.
And I love how the Jets have weathered that recently with the injuries that they've had, whether it's to Mark Scheifele, who we'll get to in a second, but also to the defense corps recently.
Yeah, I know. We can talk about Scheifele in a second, like you said, but it's just, the defense corps, like Jacob Trouba going down after Mark Scheifele goes down, while Adam Lowry is down, and after Dmitry Kulikov goes down with a concussion. Like, it kind of came in this kind of wave over the last month where the Jets have kind of, had to deal with, what a lot of teams would consider devastating injuries. Now, the Jets have been able to kind of figure it out. And I'll talk about Scheifele a little bit here. When that injury happened, there was a lot of uncertainty on what was going to happen in the lineup. And, Blake Wheeler moved to the center position. That kind of stemmed the bleeding when it came to, who would fill Scheifele's role, right? And he's done an admirable job of that. And, the Jets, and I was looking at this a couple of games ago, and the Jets were at that point 8-2-2 with Scheifele out of lineup. Now they're 9-2-3 with Scheifele gone. And I asked Paul Maurice this morning, what does that say about your team? And did you feel like, you would be at 9-2-3, 14 games into Scheifele's injury? I mean, he was, he flat up said no. Like he wasn't sure because, you lose such a good player, a player that was well above a point per game at that time. So those are the types of things, this team has had to deal with quite a bit. And now, they're still dealing on the back end. And Adam Lowry is now going to miss. He re-aggravated his upper body injury, so he's going to miss a game. But, Scheifele could be back as early as next Friday now, Maurice said. So, and that would be right around, on the upper end of the 6 week wait that he had, the diagnosis early on. So yeah, it's very interesting how this team has been able to do it. Obviously, being able to stay at the top of the Central and do those things with these, I think it can only bode well for them when they are healthy and if they can get that way before the playoffs start.
Scott, the attention has been on Blake Wheeler, as you mentioned, shifting over to center. Patrick Laine has continued to produce at a pretty fair rate. But some of the other players that we weren't really expecting necessarily to hear much from have contributed so well also. Kyle Connor has been terrific. I've enjoyed watching some of the other young players start to find their way into the Winnipeg Jets lineup, whether it's Jack Roslovic, who I think has been really interesting to watch. I'm surprised he's only got one goal because he's had a whole bunch of chances, but there's other players. Joel Armia is up to 10 goals this year. It's other players who have found a little bit of offense on the ice in place of Scheifele.
Well, I mean, you'd look at a year ago right now, and you'd like Jets were starving for some secondary scoring. Like, where was it? Where was it? And this year now, like you say, Joel Armia's got 10 goals on the season. Other guys are pitching in. Adam Lowry, before he was out, he's trending towards another good year. Kyle Connor, just doing well. And even though Kyle Connor got demoted to the fourth line, and they moved Jack Roslovic to the top line, he still produced. He got 2 goals in his last 2 games. Just they're finding ways to. Everybody's kind of just finding a way to produce, and I don't know how you kind of explain how that just happens, right? Like, how do you kind of look at last year when you had some of these players and they couldn't do it last year, and all of a sudden now this year they've kind of sorted it out, and it's one of those weird oddities in hockey where there's no real explanation for it. Just they're doing it now, right? But yeah, like Roslovic, that you touched on, he looks so dangerous when he has the puck. Like, it's one of those things where you look at Patrick Laine or Nick Ehlers and you just think there's like this innate danger that's about to happen when they touch the puck. And Roslovic, he's only got 1 goal, but I don't think that's indicative of his play. He's getting shots, he's getting into areas of ice where he's creating chances and that sort of thing. And he's looked very good, and to the point where I don't know if the Jets, when healthy, can kind of afford to send him down back to the AHL. He's kind of obviously playing on the first line. Like, how do you kind of move a guy like that out of the lineup when he's kind of earned that right to do that?
Yeah, I agree. Matthew Perreault's got 15 goals too, and that was my next question: is how do you?
I mean, you forget about some of them, right? Like there's so many that are just doing so well.
It's wonderful for the Jets. Now I'm trying to think of how Paul Maurice does rejig the lines when Mark Scheifele is okay a few days from now. Does he resume his spot? Does Blake Wheeler shift back out to the wing, or do you keep him at center and try to spread out the scoring a little further? I mean, it's still going pretty far down the lineup, but this just gives you more ammunition.
Yeah, and Paul touched on that this morning when he was asked about where will. Given that, the proximity of his return is now getting close, where will he kind of slot back in? And Paul, said pretty much straight up, he's going back to center. And I don't disagree with doing that. I mean, as well as Blake has played, he was playing better on the right wing with Scheifele centering him, right? So I don't think that, when something isn't broken, and it has been broken with Scheifele out of the lineup, but when it's not broken, there's no reason to kind of tweak something that was working before that happened. I think that's something that Paul Maurice obviously has realized before any of us in the media did. But when Scheifele came back, you want him back in his natural position. You probably want Blake Wheeler back in his natural position, and then there's the domino effect, right? Now you can put together the lines that you were working for you before they went down. And, there's been some good lines here, but now you have this option. Where do you want to play Matthew Perreault? He's played well with everybody that he's played with this season. So now he becomes, instead of he having to be on that second line and to solidify it, now he can kind of maybe move around and help out the scoring on the other lines, and they can put together their third line checking line again. And so there's just a lot of there's a lot of moving parts that obviously change when an injury happens, but when they're healthy, I think they can go back to that. They've been doing well now, but they were doing really well before too. And I think they can kind of, revisit some of those options that they had that were kind of contributing to that.
Yeah, sure gives the coach a lot of options and a lot of things that he can look at. Connor Hellebuck has been sensational in goal this year for the Winnipeg Jets, and rightfully so. Was at All-Star Weekend. Let's give a mention though to Michael Hutchinson, who was called up and under very difficult circumstances came in and played well for the Winnipeg Jets. I'm curious to see where this goes for Winnipeg and Michael Hutchinson too.
Yeah, it's been a interesting year, I guess you would say, with Michael Hutchinson. Obviously, getting sent down before the season started, he was, understandably upset about that, and he kind of made that known when he kind of took a hiatus from talking to the media. Because he felt that he was wronged, and he said as much when he got called up. A couple of weeks back, and he finally kind of opened up about what he's been dealing with, and then to come in and kind of do what he did, and stop all but one shot, and kind of just against Tampa Bay Lightning, they didn't have Andrei Vasilevsky in net. That doesn't mean they didn't have all of their their talent up front, taking shots at Michael Hutchinson, and he was able to kind of weather their storm and pick up the win. And so I think they've just. He's played well. I don't know where the plans are for him. It's kind of an interesting thing where, there's obviously the talk that he could, be moved at the deadline. And he's played well enough to kind of earn another shot in the NHL. And with Steve Mason injured though, and taking already 2 concussions now, you wonder what the Jets might do, given that they still have a high quality backup in Hutchinson to kind of, take Mason's place if he gets injured again, and we still don't know when Steve is coming back. Second concussion and everything's kind of an indefinite spot right now with him. So, I don't. Yeah, it's an interesting situation. I think Mike Hutchinson would like a chance to kind of to go and show himself, being in a year where he'll want another contract next year, of course. So, it'll be interesting what the Jets do. He's obviously probably worth an asset. Whether it's a pick or whatever they can get from him at the deadline. But it'll be interesting to see kind of how General Manager Kevin Cheveldayoff kind of handles that whole situation come February 26th.
Just quickly before I let you go, what does Kevin Cheveldayoff do at the deadline? I mean, you've got scoring, you've got defense, sure, you've got injuries that you're dealing with, but those players are expected to come back. So I'm not sure if there's an area that you're looking for other than. Sure, if you get a move that you can make for a little bit of depth, maybe that's what they look at.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what they're going to do. I'm not privy to what Kevin Cheveldayoff is going to do come the end of the month here, but you have to think that because of they have all these pieces, you don't want to kind of bring something in to kind of, you know, shake up that chemistry. It's already there. So you're just bringing in the complement guys, somebody, you know, maybe on the back end that can come in for an injury or be at, you know, that seventh man if they decide to bring another defenseman in, and just somebody on the in the top in the forward contingent where, again, just depth. I don't think the Jets need to, you know, they're not in the past they're not willing to, you know, sacrifice assets and obviously they're, you know, picks and prospects have been how this team is now formed. So, you know, it'd be interesting to see Kevin Cheveldayoff get away from that. And I don't think he will. I think the Jets will add a couple pieces that just provide the depth that they want kind of going into the playoffs, and that'll be it from them this season.
Scott Billeck from NHL.com covering the Winnipeg Jets, at Scott Billeck to follow him on Twitter. Great stuff, Scott. Really appreciate it, and I'm sure we'll be talking again soon. Thank you.
Yeah, always was lots of fun. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Scott Billeck, with the latest on the Winnipeg Jets. And it's pretty good news that Mark Scheifele's coming back by the end of the week. Michael Hutchinson, I thought, played really well. He played in the AHL All-Star game, then had to hustle out to Winnipeg to play for the Winnipeg Jets the next night and had himself a good game. Nice for him. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles getting to be the last call for the HU Dog of the Day. That's the hashtag HU Dog of the Day to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. Something we do every Saturday. Coming up in our next segment, our friend Josh Smith from scoutingtherest.com is going to join us. Settle in, maybe get yourself a little beverage of some sorts and be prepared. This could be a long one. There's a lot of layers to the smelly onion, a video review. We'll dive into that and a few other things as well. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back after the break.
The best way to get set for the busy Saturday night of hockey is with Hockey Primetime. Beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern, host Connor McKenna whips you around the league for the latest stories and info leading up to the early game starts. Plus, he'll give his own spin on the biggest stories in the National Hockey League. Hockey Primetime with Connor McKenna. Sometimes serious, sometimes a little goofy, but always interesting. Listen live at hockeyprimetime.com, 5 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. Creativity and innovation are the hallmarks of Nova Product Design. Whether it's mechanical or industrial, cutting-edge technology and a commitment to excellence make Nova Product Design the company to choose. Prototypes and beta units are a Nova Product Design specialty. Striving for revolutionary new ideas and methods keep Nova Product Design at the forefront of innovation. Visit novaproductdesign.com and learn more. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Being on the World Wide Web is great. Being found is the tricky part. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization is the only way your business can get a leg up on the competition. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. For the necessary tools to make your business stand out in a crowded marketplace, 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. It's the Saturday edition. Take you up to the top of the hour. Afternoon hockey on a Saturday, a busy 13-game schedule. Montreal Canadiens and the Anaheim Ducks. It's Antti Niemi and Ryan Miller in goal for that one. And the Philadelphia Flyers, Ottawa Senators, Alex Lyon and Craig Anderson in goal for that one. Interesting. We'll get you a little more on the games as we get up towards the top of the hour. It's a busy Saturday, and then tomorrow, of course, is Super Bowl Sunday. It's all afternoon action, and we're looking forward to that and a nice weekend. It has been an interesting and discussion and angst-filled week at times with the NHL and rules and video review. So, of course, we've called to our expert friend Josh Smith from scoutingtherefs.com to join us. Follow him on Twitter at scoutingtherefs. It's loaded with great info. The website is too, with all of the officials that are working different games, great stories about officials and refs. And Josh joins us now. So, are you okay for this? This could be a long one. I mean, longer than some of our usual long discussions. Are you prepared for this one today, Josh?
Yeah, it seems deserved based on how things have gone this week in the NHL.
All right. So a week ago, the commissioner was saying, you know what, everybody just take a chill pill and relax. We've got this video thing. It's working the way it should. Everybody just needs to sort of relax a little bit and not be looking for the smallest little thing to change a call. And then we had Thursday night where there were, I believe, 3 significant incidents. And maybe the one that is most interesting to me is the one involving the Winnipeg Jets and the Vegas Golden Knights. So let's start there with the review that allowed a goal to stand despite an obvious penalty that should have been called on James Neal. Now, I've heard a whole bunch of alleged expert analysts providing some misinformation as well about this one. So we'll try and go through it. But there was a video review. The goal was allowed to stand. And the penalty, the slash that would have been appropriate for James Neal is not part of the video review. Am I correct there?
That is correct. There's no chance in video review, even if you see anything egregious happen, of issuing a penalty on the play. So that slash, it was a missed call. At the time of the goal, I'd actually commented on Twitter saying that, Ghislain Hebert, the referee, was in great position to see the puck loose behind Connor Hellebuck. But that positioning was in the worst possible place to see the slash from James Neal. So it was a missed penalty. That said, if it's interfering with the goaltender's ability to do his job, it's potentially still goaltender interference. So you could be looking at it as a way to disallow the goal. You're just not going to assign a penalty based on the review.
Gotcha. And that's the thing I was hearing yesterday, that someone would say, well, then there should have been a penalty. They've used review to issue penalties before. And the precedent they cited was in the Edmonton Oilers game. And that is not true. The Edmonton Oilers game, the same night, there was a penalty going to be called on the play, but the goal being disallowed reinstated the penalty, which is a bit confusing for people.
Yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely right with the way penalties are called and how it's being handled. And if the goal's disallowed and the goal was what took care of the penalty, then the penalty has to still stand. I know there's been concern in the past around using the reviews, and officially the referees are not using reviews to call penalties. They can huddle with the linesman, they can huddle with the other officials on the ice, the other referee, and discuss the play and say, hey, I saw something different, that should be a penalty. That's the formal approach to any calls that came after the play, that someone saw something else. But review is not officially part of the penalty process. So in that case, in the Oilers game, that was the right call.
Yeah, for those that aren't aware, because there was so much attention with Vegas and with Winnipeg, it was the game with Colorado and Edmonton, and the puck was in Jonathan Bernier's hand, and his hand was shoved across the goal line. Dan O'Halloran went to the penalty box and got on the blower to Toronto, but that was to determine only if the puck had crossed the line. Then the review came after that. And again, I guess that's where the confusion comes in. The arm was in the air. A penalty was going to be called. Goal goes in, penalty is wiped out. But when the goal is wiped out, then you go back to the penalty. It's confusing until you break it down that way.
It is. And I know we've talked about it before, Todd, but I think this is one of those opportunities that the league has to clearly explain. We love Wes McCauley's explanations because they're entertaining on the microphone, but yeah, we have an opportunity here for the referees to say the call was a goal on the ice, or the call was no goal on the ice. There was a delayed penalty for a slash. We're reviewing the play to see if the puck crossed the line. If they spell it out for fans and broadcasters and media, I think that clears up a lot of the confusion. I know it's a little more work and it's a little tricky when you're on the mic in front of 20,000 people standing out there, but I think a better explanation would go a long way towards clearing up the frustration around the review process.
Josh Smith is with us from scoutingtherefs.com, at scoutingtherefs to follow him on Twitter. What I'd like to see is the way they put out the explanations for suspensions and supplementary discipline by the Department of Player Safety. I'd love to see a similar thing with video review. And here's a couple of good instances that you can use. Referees are always going to miss penalties. That's an unfortunate part of the job. Nobody's going to ever be 100% right. But if you look at the situation, according to the rule book, the rules were applied properly in both of these instances.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. We look at what player safety has done and how, I know people still joke about the wheel of justice and how suspensions are determined. But at least you're getting an explanation on why a player was suspended, what they did. Maybe we don't need that for every situation room call, but I think Thursday was a great example of an opportunity for the situation room crew or possibly officiating supervisors and managers to get together and say, let's put an explanation out there on why this was a goal. And this was what was allowed. This was what wasn't allowed. And this is why the ruling was what it was.
So here's another possibility. I think we've mentioned or talked about this once before too. Referees and officials do not speak to the media after the game in terms of availability, the same way players and coaches do. Do you think there would be an appetite by the officials? Do you think they would be okay with it if they were allowed to present their thoughts, their reasoning? Perhaps it's one reporter, a pool reporter that asks the questions. Here's what the situation is. Please give us an explanation.
I think, I don't want to speak on their behalf, and I know there's certainly union issues that come into play around what people are required to do and able to do. Anecdotally, I've spoken with some who've said, I would love the opportunity to explain what I saw on that play. I'm not able to, but I wish I could have said, this is why I made the call. This is why it went the way it went. I've long rallied that some kind of communication flow, whether it's from the officials or the officiating manager assigned to that game, to address a pool reporter. I don't want to put these guys in front of the media. You don't want to have a press conference and make a big show of it. But I think putting somebody in front of one of even the NHL.com guys and saying, okay, this interference call went this way because we saw A, B, and C, and that was enough for us to make this determination. I think it'd be huge. I think it would ease a lot of frustration, and I think fans and especially the media would get a better handle on why things happened instead of feeling frustrated at this process that obviously everyone is right now with what is and isn't goaltender interference.
It seems as though that just providing an explanation appeases people. You might not agree with the call, you might not agree with the rule, but if there was a better flow of information back and forth, I think that would help everyone, and certainly a better explanation of the rules, so that and I'll phrase this way, so that the idiot broadcasters understand too.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you can even extend that to the coaching staff. We know the coaches get explanations on the bench, but I know some of these guys would probably love to have a clearer understanding and clearer examples, which they could then use to say, hey guys, they're overturning calls when this happens. So let's make sure we're not doing this. I think it would benefit everyone. Okay,
so that's a pretty good understanding, I think, now of goaltender interference and video review. Other than the let's not micromanage this a little further suggestion from the commissioner a week ago, is there any other change that you would implement? Do you still like it that it's the referee that makes the call, or would you rather that was centralized in the office in Toronto? Well, we know that the NHL is all about consistency, and it's a challenge for them all year long on trying to make sure that everybody's working towards the same standard in penalty calls and reviews, things like that. There's a lot to be said for having a centralized reviewer or to having that in one spot. I do think, though, it was important to the officials that the call not be taken out of their hands and that the guys on the ice are the guys making the decisions for goaltender interference. But to me, a good compromise would be to leverage what the NBA is doing and have a rotation. Have 1, 2 of your referees sitting in the situation room on a given night
and have them evaluate the play and say, you know what, we both think it's this call. And if they want to take those two guys plus the guy on the ice and say, look, we're going to discuss it and come to a consensus here, maybe that's a way to get the officials involved, but still have two guys in the room that are consistently applying it all game long, or all day long for all the games. So I think that would be an interesting solution and a way to centralize it, yet still keep it in the hands of the referees. I
like that. Is that current active referees that are involved? It's the way to do it, because I like that better than supervisors or past on-ice officials.
It is, yeah. The NBA does it with their current referees. So they rotate. You know, you're working a game, you're having off night, or you're working in the replay room and reviewing it. So I think it's a good way to see it, and it probably would help those on-ice officials spending a night in that room to review calls. You know, the next time they're out there on the ice, they know what it's like from the other side. So everybody gets to go through it and handle that role and responsibility. Yeah, I think it's a cool opportunity. Definitely one that I would consider.
I love that idea. Josh Smith is with us from scoutingtherefs.com. At scoutingtherefs is how you follow him on Twitter. I want to squeeze in a couple more things. We've really gone over the video review, and I'm pleased about that. In the Washington Capitals game with the Pittsburgh Penguins last night, Nick Backstrom was hit with a high sticking penalty. He was reaching to check Brian Rust of the Pittsburgh Penguins, and Rust followed through on a shot and in turn pushed Nick Backstrom's stick up into his own face and hit him with the stick. So Backstrom gets a high sticking penalty, which again is the right call because you must be in control of your stick at all times.
Yeah, that's correct. You're in control of your stick at all times. The only exception for high sticking being if it's a shot, a follow through on an actual shot, not a clearing attempt, not a wild swing at the stick. But if you are following through on a shot attempt, you're exempt from a high stick on those types of plays.
Yeah, and there's one other interesting one too that was a little bit wonky for everyone to understand as it was happening last night. Eric Stahl late in the game was pursuing a puck towards the end of the Vegas Golden Knights. The goaltender was out, and David Perron hooked him. Now Stahl wasn't near the puck, but the correct ruling again is it's an automatic goal because he would have been on a breakaway.
Absolutely. And even if he wasn't, the puck was way down in the zone. And that's what I was hearing the most of was, well, that wasn't even close to a penalty shot. How are you going to award a goal on that play? And yeah, if there's ever a hooking or penalty on a guy on a breakaway with an empty net, it's an automatic goal. And that's an obvious one. But the rule and the rule for interference is if there's any interference with an opposing player in the neutral zone or the attacking zone, it's an awarded goal. And, Brad Watson's been around the block for nearly 1,300 games. He knows that rule inside and out, and he did not hesitate to make that call. I know Gerard Gallant wasn't happy, and quite frankly, it's probably not anything he's seen come across in his years of coaching because it's an infrequent call, but that is absolutely the right call. Any interference in the neutral zone, whether you've got the puck or not, that's an automatic goal.
Josh Smith from scoutingtherefs.com. Follow him on Twitter at scoutingtherefs. We are grateful for your time and explanation, and no doubt we'll probably be talking about these and all kinds of other calls again in the future. Thanks so much, Josh. I really appreciate it.
Anytime, Todd. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. Josh Smith from scoutingtherefs.com. You know what? Maybe we need to send the link to scoutingtherefs.com to kind of all the coaches and a few of the players who gripe and bellyache unnecessarily and incorrectly. Certainly some of those alleged expert analysts who are spewing out the misinformation and that the Winnipeg and Vegas thing. Oh, then they should have called a penalty. They've used review to call penalties before. They did it in Edmonton. It's garbage. It's not true. There was a penalty call. The rules were applied differently because there are different rules that are in place for those. Do I like video review? Yes. Can it be improved? Absolutely. And I love that suggestion of using current active referees in the video review office to assist with the decision making. I think that's something that we should look at. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles. One more segment will take you up to the top. We'll preview some of the action coming up on a busy Saturday. Look ahead to Super Bowl Sunday and more. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. Back after the break. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Look, we know it happens. Life gets in the way and sometimes you can't catch the live edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. But we've made it easy for you to catch up on the show you might have missed. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis is available as a podcast on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Blog Talk Radio. You don't want to miss an episode. If you missed the live show, check out the podcast. Don't miss any shows. There's a test coming up later. Subscribe now. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Use the code Get the Savings. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis listeners save with SeatGiant and the promo code TODD. That's TODD at SeatGiant.com. Just log on to SeatGiant.com to find the best tickets to NHL games, concerts, or whatever you want and save. Use the promo code TODD. That's TODD when you check out and you save. Canadian listeners can save at SeatGiant.ca. That's SeatGiant.com and .ca. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing, Nova Product Design, industrial design, mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. It's the Saturday edition. We're back again tomorrow morning, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles. Of course, Sunday means Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5 with Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com. That will come up tomorrow. All afternoon games on Sunday. Of course, that football game of some notoriety takes place tomorrow evening. So all the NHL action gets going in the afternoon. A couple of afternoon contests as well. The Montreal Canadiens play back-to-back Saturday games or back-to-back 1 p.m. games as part of the Super Bowl weekend. It's become a bit of a tradition. They are hosting the Anaheim Ducks. Antti Niemi and Ryan Miller in goal. I don't know. It's kind of two teams going in opposite directions, isn't it? Canadiens. Oh, yeah. I don't know. I said this a few months ago that there needs to be a change in approach and a change in the way that they do things for the Montreal Canadiens. They need a president, a hockey operations, a president of the team, the way some others have done. There was a name that was thrown out over the last few days that got a bit of attention, caused a bit of a stir, and that, of course, was Pierre Maguire, because Pierre apparently also had said that he'd be open to it. He's currently recovering from cancer surgery, and we wish him the best in terms of a quick and speedy and full recovery. I don't know if he's the right choice, though. I do believe that's the way to go. Fully bilingual president, and then you can get away from that kind of stuff with the general manager and the coach, because I think you do need three different people. The president, bilingual in French and English, could focus on being the public face of the team. I think Pierre Maguire is such a polarizing figure, though, that you either like him or you really dislike him. And I just don't know if having that kind of a polarizing figure in that position is the right move for the Montreal Canadiens. There's no doubt he is he has an awful lot of hockey knowledge, but I don't know. I don't know that that's the right choice. I don't know that he should be he shouldn't be the president and the GM. But I think they need to kind of go that way, the way Toronto has done, with Edmonton has done, having a president, having a general manager, and also having a coach. The coach and general manager, you have to get away from that must be bilingual thing as well. And if you have a president that is the face of the franchise that is bilingual, that will allow you to do that. But the other thing that's got to take place with the Montreal Canadiens that I firmly believe is you have to have a giant purge in that organization. You got to get rid of all the skeletons in that house. Yes, the way Toronto and Edmonton did. There's the big focus on changing the GM, changing the coach. There were dozens of others that were relieved. And yes, that is the public relations aspect. And that's the part that also needs to change and evolve. There's a lot of people that have been in that organization for a long time, and it is time for some new blood. Ottawa, Philadelphia, also an afternoon contest. There's good matchups in the evening with Toronto and Boston. Lots of defensemen getting back in the lineup. Ron Hainsey will be back. Morgan Riley scheduled to be back for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And for Bruins fans, Charlie McAvoy will be back as well. That could be a first-round playoff matchup with Toronto and Boston. Not sure who's going to have home ice yet because the Leafs are pretty close to the Boston Bruins in terms of the standings now as we enter play on Saturday. Leafs are just 3 points back. Bruins have a couple of games in hand, but that's pretty close. Maybe it flip-flops. I don't know. Boston's been on such an incredible run. How long can they maintain that? But it's been fun to watch. Pittsburgh and New Jersey, another matchup that could also line up in terms of the playoffs. Again, entering play on Saturday, Pittsburgh is a single point ahead of the New Jersey Devils. Yeah. Now, New Jersey has 3 games in hand. Maybe that flip-flops, maybe that switches. But that Metro division is going to be really interesting as well. Penn's had a big win on Friday night against the Washington Capitals. New Jersey's got to be ready. Yes, this is a time to show what kind of team they can be. Columbus and the Islanders. Yeah, another one that potentially matches up. Rangers and Nashville. What will the Rangers do? We talked to Justin Tasch a little bit earlier. Are they going to clear out the cupboards at the deadline? Are they going to make changes? Chris Kreider's out. Kevin Shattenkirk is out. Pavel Buchnevich is now out. Hank wants to stay. These are interesting times for the New York Rangers and the Nashville Predators. Boy, oh boy, they just seem to be getting better. Mike Fisher announcing he's going to come back. Hey, there's no rush. Take your time. Get in shape. Be ready for the playoffs. Just sign by the deadline on February 26th, and you're good to go for the playoffs. I'm interested in one of the late games as well. Chicago Blackhawks and the Calgary Flames. I don't know if the Calgary Flames have another set of sheets, but I hope they do because they've messed up the ones on their bed the last 2 games so badly, I don't think they will come clean. That was a total debacle against Vegas earlier in the week. That was a mess. Allowing them to tie and then beat up on them and win the game in 2 minutes' time. And then you're up 4-2. Tampa scored 5 straight goals. Now, sure, Mike Smith, he's bailed you out a whole bunch of times. Boy, oh boy, you can't have games like that. Not if you think you're as good as you are. Not if you think you're serious about climbing back into the postseason, as they've fallen out now after 6 straight losses and find themselves behind the LA Kings and behind the Colorado Avalanche, who are chasing the Minnesota Wild for the final wild card spot in the West. And the Hawks are right behind the Calgary Flames in terms of the wild card standings right now. I think the Hawks are run out of games. I don't think there's enough games that they can get enough points. 55 points going into action on Saturday. They need 40 points in their final 31 games. I'm not sure they're good enough to do it. But it's going to be interesting to watch with a 13-game Saturday and as we go forward. Our thanks to Josh Smith, to Scott Billeck, to Arthur Staple, to Scott Burnside, and Justin Tasch for joining us. Thanks for listening. We'll be back again Sunday morning, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, with another edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. Enjoy a great day of hockey. We're back with you tomorrow.
There's special savings for Hockey Unfiltered listeners with our new ticket partner, Seat Giant. And Canadian fans can also purchase in Canadian dollars. Go to SeatGiant.ca, find the tickets you're looking for. Doesn't matter if it's NHL games, concerts, or any other event. You get a special discount with the promo code TODD. That's Todd with 2 Ds. Just enter the code, get the discount, you save. That's simple. Save on your next ticket purchase with Hockey Unfiltered and Seat Giant. The best way to get set for the busy Saturday night of hockey is with Hockey Primetime. Beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern, host Connor McKenna whips you around the league for the latest stories and info leading up to the early game starts. Plus, he'll give his own spin on the biggest stories in the National Hockey League. Hockey Primetime with Connor McKenna. Sometimes serious, sometimes a little goofy, but always interesting. Listen live at hockeyprimetime.com, 5 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. Search engine optimization is the key to success for your online business. It can be the key to success for any business. 1-844-SEO-LEAD is the number to call to get your business at the top of all searches. An official partner of Google, they have the tools necessary to make your business the one people notice first. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now you can nominate your dog or any dog you love as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day through Instagram. Every Saturday, Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis will take your nominations for the Dog of the Day. Use the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Send us a photo with the dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate your dog. We choose a winner at the end of the show, and your dog will be recognized in the HU Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Creativity and innovation are the hallmarks of Nova Product Design. Whether it's mechanical or industrial, cutting-edge technology and a commitment to excellence make Nova Product Design the company to choose. Prototypes and beta units are a Nova Product Design specialty. Striving for revolutionary new ideas and methods keep Nova Product Design at the forefront of innovation. Visit novaproductdesign.com and learn more.